My background is from scientific coordination, actually, and working with the European Space Agency and with NASA in biology experiments in space. And I turned to the sea and to diving quite recently, actually, just a couple of years ago. And now I'm working full-time with the Cousteau Society and in education, awareness, and reaching out to people about environmental issues related to the sea. The Bahamas National Trust and the Pew Environment Group have a program here in the Bahamas to protect the sharks of the Bahamas, so to declare the waters of the Bahamas National Shark Sanctuary, and to forbid any kind of trade of shark products, any fishing, commercial fishing of sharks. And at that occasion, they called on to me and onto the Cousteau Society to speak up and to put more weight into their campaign, helping them reach out to the general public, with whom my father was very well known. It's disastrous. The current state of shark populations globally is absolutely disastrous. Shark stocks are declining everywhere. A lot, if not all, species are on endangered lists. I'm from France, and diving in the Mediterranean today, you will never see a shark. There used to be a lot, but you'll never see one now. There are some species that are left very deep, but you'll never see a pelagic shark. And so, you know, divers like to travel to see large animals, and last summer I took to the Red Sea in Egypt, looking for sharks, looking for large animals, looking for a nice dive. Not a single shark. They're going away really fast. It's estimated that over 70 million of them die every year. That's kind of too big a number to actually grasp. So it's about 200,000 a day, and it's about 3 sharks a second that are dying for their fins. Mostly everywhere in the world, and the sharks is the Bahamas is one of the last places in the world with a relatively healthy shark population. Finning. So that means that the sharks are taken alongside a boat and their fins are cut off, and they're let to agonize without their fins. They can't swim anymore, and they're left to agonize and die in the oceans while the fins are collected and dried and sold in the Asian market for fish, for shark fin soup mostly. Yeah, there's also longline fishing outside the Bahamas, because it's been banned in the Bahamas since the 1990s. That's responsible for killing of top predators in all the ecosystems. And then there's bycatch and all kind of drift nets and all the unsustainable fishing practices throughout the world. Well, there's several reasons why sharks should be protected. And it's healthy to have a little bit of fear of sharks, because they are top predators, and the ocean is not our natural environment. So it is healthy to have a little bit of fear of these animals. But I think above this fear, if we push our thinking a little bit further, a great respect comes from these creatures that have been around on the earth for 400 million years, and that have made it through all the massive extinctions, that have brought so much balance to the ecosystems of the oceans. Now, they've been here 400 million years. That means that most of the ecosystems of the world have evolved with that in the equation, with top predators, sharks, in the equation of their marine environment. So if we take that away, we don't know what's going to happen. And it could mean the collapse of certain commercially interesting and important fish stocks and fisheries. You know, it could mean the collapse of coral reefs, because they're killing herbivorous species. The sharks are regulating herbivorous species on the reef that play an important role in the growth of coral. Also, of course, in terms of tourism, tourists come to the Bahamas for shark diving quite a bit. $78 million a year. One study shows is brought to the Bahamian economy through shark diving alone. And that means, you know, the hotels, the restaurants, the diving operators, and everything that goes around that kind of tourism. The shark populations of the Bahamas are one of the last healthy shark populations in the world. And protecting that has value as an example for the rest of the world, and poses the question of our relationship in general to the animal kingdom. You know, how do we treat animals? You were saying these are the sharks, you know, most people think sharks, we need to kill them as often as we can. Well, you know, let's think of things a different way. Let's say, here we are now, we're dominating every ecosystem on the planet. Are we just going to stay that predatorial species that thinks only about its own sake on the short term, but not about its own sake on the long term? Or are we going to understand the importance of these species on the long term, on survival, on the biodiversity, and all these different aspects that make the planet a sustainable place to live and a pleasant place to live as well. Again, why protect these sharks and how? But why? I think first let's look at why. So yes, there's the tourism, it's important for tourism. There's the balance of the ecosystems in the oceans. But there's also doing the right thing. It's about doing the right thing, isn't it? It's about knowing that it's wrong to kill millions and millions of these animals in a totally unsustainable manner. And it's about realizing that, wait a minute, this is wrong. So asking yourself the right question and putting into place the fact that we don't want these species to disappear from our planet. Now, how to do that? Of course, the ban on longline fishing, as you said, was a very good example. Marine conservation efforts are very efficient. They work very well everywhere in the world. As soon as you protect an area, as soon as you ban a destructive technique for fishing, for instance, you see results very quickly. And the marine ecosystem recovers quite fast. And things get better, and we see a healthy environment restoring itself. The problem is, these endeavors are not done widely enough. There aren't enough conservation efforts throughout the world. And in the Mediterranean Sea, again, as an example, in June I was with National Geographic. We were visiting marine protected areas of the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea is an agonizing ocean. It's an agonizing sea. There's nothing left. It's really been destroyed by pollution, by overfishing, by coastal development. And these marine protected areas, these places that were protected for 15, 20 years, I dove there and I saw an oasis of life. I saw the way the Mediterranean was maybe many years ago, the way it should be today everywhere. And protecting these areas is extremely important. And that's what the Bahamas National Trust is doing today. That's what the work of the Bahamas National Trust is to create these parks, these natural parks, these protected areas where life is allowed to flourish, to develop, and to recover from the impact of human activity. So I think if today you want to make a difference in marine conservation, you got to support the Bahamas National Trust. You got to help with these marine protected areas develop, and support this shark campaign to ban all commercial fishing and trade of shark goods. Now, you're talking about subsistence fishing, and that's not something that's being targeted by this legislation. That means that by putting this legislation into place, the Bahamas National Trust and the Pew Environment Group are not looking to criminalize the people who do subsistence fishing of sharks. So accidental catch of a shark, you eat it, or you actually go out to eat a shark. But now these people have to know that sharks, as being top predators in the food chain, are also the species that accumulates the most toxins, mercury, PCBs. They accumulate that as they eat all the species below them in the food chain. So shark is not a healthy meat. Most people report that it's not good in terms of taste, but it's also unhealthy and contains one of the highest concentrations of lethal toxins, creating problems such as impotency and sterility. So I would advise not to eat them, but again, we're not looking at criminalizing anyone who actually does. I guess the greatest myth would be that sharks are mean, that they're evil, that they want us dead. Sharks kill about 4 humans everywhere on Earth every year. That's less people than toothbrush kill. So people die more slipping off their toilet seat than eaten by a shark. And so we don't criminalize toilet seats. We don't say toilet seats are evil, no. But we tend to think that sharks are evil, mostly because of a film that was Jaws, that was in the 70s, and that really had a strong impact on the public opinion of sharks. And sharks are, once again, top predators. They've evolved for hundreds of millions of years to be the best predators of the oceans. And you have to have respect for that, you know? And they've developed all these systems. If you look into the biology of a shark, it's amazing. All these different systems that they have to detect their prey, to sense danger, they're really amazing creatures for which you can only feel humbled and respect for when you learn about them. So I think that this myth of the bad guy, the shark bad guy, can be easily busted as you look into their biology, as you learn about them. Now, we met with a little girl yesterday called Candace Woon, I think, who's 12 years old, and she was afraid of sharks. She was very, very afraid of sharks. And she decided to look into the facts to understand her fear. Instead of just staying at the fear, she went into it and tried to understand it by going to the Bimini Research Station here in the Bahamas, which is one of the best research stations on sharks in the world, and meeting with Dr. Gruber there and learning about the shark facts, how they work, their ecology, their biology. And she came out of that with a beautiful shark project. It's a poster that she showed us yesterday. It's amazing. I learned so many things from her about these sharks. And so that's such a beautiful thing that I think, you know, children are more apt to do than we are as we grow older, which is taking our fears and making something good from them, using them as opportunities to learn. And that's exactly what that little girl did. And I think that's what we ought to do more often. Oh, you have fear for something? Good. That means that you have curiosity about it, and that means that you should learn more about it. Well, there's several ways in which they can help. I mean, first of these people, the fishermen and the mariners, they are the ones who know the oceans best. They know where the fish are. They know how what the evolution is of the fish stocks. They are the ones who know the oceans best, and they know. I mean, just talking with them the other day, they know that sharks are important to the environment. They know that no sharks means no fish. A place where there's no top predators left is an agonizing ecosystem. So they know that. I think they're very much aware of the importance of sharks for the health of the ecosystem. And what they can do, again, I mean, is what they're doing now, which is following the legislations, because understanding the legislations, why they're put in place and how they benefit them ultimately. So the ban on longline fishing is to their benefit because it's healthier marine ecosystems, more fish for them. The ban on that we're trying to push through now, the ban on commercial fishing and trade of shark products, that's again something that will contribute to the health of the ecosystems and contribute to their business. And I think as monitors also of these legislations, they can play a very important role, being the eyes and the ears on the ocean to say, hey, wait a minute, you know, we just saw this ship come in who was shark finning, and we know that's illegal now. So reporting that, you know, and I think that's important because no legislation is worth anything if it isn't enforced. And these people who are out in the sea every day, they have their eyes on the sea, and they're the front line to help enforce those legislations. Okay, there's several things that you can do to help the oceans. First off, you can support conservation groups, support membership-based organizations such as the Bahamas National Trust in their activities and their endeavors to protect the environment, because they're well informed, they're working with scientists, they know when they say we need to protect this, they're not just saying that, they've done the research and they know that it's an important species to protect, such as the case with sharks. In your everyday life, and this is very important, you're putting the finger on something extremely important. You know, the Chinese and the Asians in general who eat this shark fin soup as a sign of social, to distinguish themselves socially, not for nutritional reasons, purposes. It's part of their culture. You have to respect that, it's part of their culture. But that's okay when you're a small group of people. But when you're developing into millions and billions of people, all doing a small thing every day that has an impact on the environment, you have to realize that that's not sustainable anymore. And the fact is that the population of the Earth is growing very fast. We're reaching 7 billion. We don't know where it's going to stop. And it's important that we look into our everyday life and try to understand what are the little acts of culture that are part of us, that are part of our culture, that we think are normal, but that have a negative impact on the environment. Because as population develops, those little acts are going to have more and more impact. And so I think in everyday life, there's several things. I mean, refusing plastic, refusing throwaway plastic. Throwaway plastic is an abomination for the seas. Plastic mugs, plastic forks and knives. So staying away from that as much as possible. And most of the time it's free. People give it to you for free, but it's terrible for the environment, and there's no recycling of that whatsoever. There's being aware of which fish are sustainable to eat or not. So informing yourself again, going on the internet, finding out which fish are endangered, which fish are sustainable, and trying to, focus your eating on those species that are sustainable. And right now that's the two only examples that come to mind, but right now the Cousteau Society is developing a program called Cousteau Divers. And the purpose of that is to bring, to use citizens, divers, snorkelers, users, lovers of the sea, to become active agents of its study and preservation. So through participative science with easy observation methodologies and participative multimedia, using Web 2.0 tools, we really want to bring to anyone the legacy of my father, of Jacques Cousteau, and help them and invite them to become active agents of the protection of the environment. So that's Cousteau Divers, a project of the Cousteau Society. I've been coming here since I was a little boy, and every year almost. And my father loved this place. He did a movie here in Andros in 1971. And I came here with him. I've got great memories with him here, family memories. So Bahamas is part of my heart, and I love this country.